She is so stubborn, isn't she? Look, there are moments of hope that shine through at times. Everything seems to be back to normal. And then it's almost as if the devil himself whispered something in her ear.
Don't forgive him.
Then the floodgates of hate, disdain, resentment, frustration just flood through.
You know, I still want to separate. I see these changes you are making, but make them for the next woman. I haven't been in love with you for years.
It's like she's handcrafting words just to break you down. You just want to go up to her and shake her and say, don't you want to be happy? I mean, I love you so much. What would you give to get her to let go and forgive the past mistakes you've made? To move forward in your life with her again? To have her look up at you in the eyes with softness and a smile and say,
I forgive you. I accept you and I want to work on us. That's the only thing I want. I will never let go.
That is what today's video is designed to do. I'm going to show you why she brings up the past seemingly out of nowhere and why she cannot let go, why she lies about the past and alters the facts of it, the most common mistakes men make when she does bring up the past that only makes things worse, and lastly, a not so common way to get her to completely let go of it once and for all that I've discovered through countless trials and tribulations with so many men over the years. So why all of a sudden is she bringing up the past more, and why she's not letting go and making things a bigger deal than she used to? There is a concept that I've spoken about on this channel a couple times called the emotional tipping scale. It is this idea that her subconscious brain is a record keeper, and she has recorded all the positive emotional interactions and all the negative emotional interactions over time. Now, in the beginning of the relationship, there were so many positive emotional experiences with her, and she was in love with you, and it was just amazing, right? Of course. For most people, it lasts the first couple of years, but because of the kids and a lot of sometimes death in the family or stress or just she has her own job, and all these things have caused a separation. And that once record of all those positive emotional experiences slowly started to tip in the other direction. And what used to be a 4-to-1 ratio or 5-to-1 ratio that kept you as a hero and the love of her life slowly tipped over time, over years and years in that slow descent, down to 3-to-1, 2-to-1, 1-to-1, and then that tipping point occurred. And the thing is that once that tipping point occurs, I'm gonna explain this a lot more in the next point, but she has that veil from being the hero to being the villain. Now, it is not a complete emotional shift because she has this dual mind narrative with you, which means that she will sometimes do these positive things and show commitment and want to plan trips with you and work on the house together and still have a business with you. But at the same time, she's saying things like, I don't want to be with you anymore, I'm not in love with you. And it creates a lot of confusion for men that I work with. But you have to recognize that when it comes to her looking at the past, what's happening is because that shift or tip has occurred, now she's editing the past based on how she feels in the present moment. Now, the solution to this is to use potency actions. It's to create positive emotional experiences with her by the specific actions you take that meet her needs and make her feel positively toward you. This means building trust, creating intimacy, creating attraction, a lot of things that are never taught to a lot of guys. I'll tell you more about that later on, but in a practical, strategic level, those are the things or the actions you have to take are these potency actions that I've found over countless years doing this that will start to shift the scale back into the positive emotional perspective or the positive perspective. Okay, so now why is she altering the past? Why is she taking these facts and completely creating a different narrative? I mean, I've had wives tell their husbands, I haven't loved you for the past 10 years. She'll say things like, I'm only with you out of guilt or for the kids, or she'll say stuff like, the sex was never good in the first place, or these most like crazy things that you're like, what, you believe this whole time and you were hiding it? No. And honestly, you believing that is one of the biggest mistakes you are making. I'll tell you more in a second of the next point, but that is one of the biggest mistakes is that you are believing the words she is saying. And I get it as a guy, that words for you mean a lot. But you have to recognize in her feminine archetype that those words are dictated by how she feels in the present moment. And she is altering the past. And her mood is a specific way. So her mind is filtered through the perception of that she has based on how she feels with you right now. And so if you can alter the way she feels towards you, her story and the facts also change. This is the main point of this video right here, okay? Recognizing that if you change her mood, you will change her mind. And that the biggest mistake that causes men to guarantee divorce is over, that you lost her for good, that she's gonna go with the other guy, is that when she says these things like, I've never loved you for all these years, you're like, oh my God, I believe that. You said it, so it must be true because you're mad at me right now and you want a divorce, so of course it's true. No. You almost have to view it, and I'll add on to this as well, but you almost have to view it that there are two separate selves within her, okay? And that right now, this protector is dictating her life, what she sees, who she is around you. okay? Because she has to protect herself because you are a threat to her. Because of that emotional tipping scale we just talked about. That you are more of a threat than a protection. That you are the bodyguard that turned your gun onto her. Which is why she's doing all these things to push you away, because she doesn't trust that you can support and care for her. Let me actually show this to you visually on the whiteboard back here. Okay, so I want you to imagine that these are all the years you guys have together, okay? So the time is down here, the time you guys have spent together, goes across. This is your timeline, right? So let's say each of these is like a year, right? It's like 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. And I know, actually let's do intervals of 2, because I know for most of you, it's like 26 years right here, okay? For some people it's more, for some people it's less, regardless. So green's gonna represent all the positive emotional experiences and red's gonna represent all the negative, right? So in the beginning, you guys were like just having all of these positive emotional experiences, right? And over time, we're talking the wedding, falling in love, first time you guys were intimate, all the dates, you get the point. Over time, what happens? These become a little bit more sparse, okay? Now, obviously, like little moments help too, but you're getting the general trend. And earlier on, the ratio here was like 7-1, okay? But here's how it happens over time with a lot of the guys. The first couple of years is like maybe like the first little incidents of something happening, first little fight you guys have. And then there starts to be a little trend. And then, around the 7-year mark, that's when things start to pick up. You guys have kids around here. It's like, oh, there's less time for each other. And then this starts to really pick up, right? And depending on where you're at, what happens over time is that ratio of 4-1 went down to 3, 2, and 1. And then that tipping point occurred where subconsciously her record keeper says, you know what? This guy as a stimulus to me, my brain, I look at this man, and when before I get a call and I see his name, I would have positive emotions because I think of all the positive memories, not consciously, subconsciously. But now, hey, you see what I mean? So the crazy part about this too, you ready for this? When you look back, a lot of times as well, when you're in the positive perspective, this is a very important point. When you're in the positive perspective, and over here, you're at this like, freaking 7-1 ratio, right? And you're still there like around this time period. This moment and this moment, she'll still categorize as like neutral. Neutral to even positive. Oh, it's not a big deal. You know what? Like honey, like it's totally okay that you did that. I don't mind. She's more forgiving, yes. But when you've shifted back to this ratio and it's 1-2, 1-1, the tipping point has occurred, she'll look back at a lot of these positive experiences and they'll become neutral. Like, yeah, you said you love me, like, honey, what about our wedding? I mean, yeah, it was a good time. It was a good memory. Like no emotion. Like what? That's how you feel about our wedding now? And then those neutral things. Let's say this is neutral, becomes negative. I really don't like the way that all the time you just kind of controlled the radio. This is news to me. You see what's happening here? Because of this tipping point, she has a different lens on your guys' history because of the way she feels now. Now, there are 3 common mistakes that I've seen all men make when their wife brings up the past that only causes it to get worse and not better, okay? The first one is to defend yourself. Now, in your logical framework, right, that thing that allows you to solve pretty much every other problem in your life except for the relationship, it's counterintuitive, is to state your case logically. If you feel like you're being attacked, as an example, like all the years, you didn't take me on enough dates. I know I said I didn't care at the time, but now looking back on it, it's pretty messed up. Because you feel attacked, your brain is gonna go to, wait, we did this date, we did that date, we did so many dates over the years. I took you here, I took you there, I took you there. That logical defense mechanism, it will only make things worse. And you have to step outside of that framework if you want to strengthen the emotional relationship. Using logic is counterintuitive to improving the relationship, okay? I know for many men, this is really hard to understand and agree with, but one of the biggest differences we have with men and women is this point, okay? Now in this video, I'm gonna really go in deep as to why this is so you can fully understand it, and once you practice this, you'll be like, you know what? I don't care what's right anymore, I want what works. And if you want what works, you're gonna continue listening. The second biggest mistake is to not take 100% accountability for why she's upset with you. This goes along with defensiveness, but it's more subtle than straight up defensive language. When I talk to men, they'll say, Josh, I took full accountability and she still got upset. And then I'll have the guy tell me a story, right, about what happened. And let's see if you could pick up on this. If you can't, then you need some work. If you can, then that's great. So when I was talking to the client, he said something that really upset his wife, okay? And he said, you know what? He's like, I'm gonna take full responsibility for this and accountability. Like Josh said, I'm not gonna defend myself. So he said to his wife, hey, look, I'm sorry when I said that thing, that those words hurt you. Now, if you understand why that's not taking full accountability, Good, you passed the test, okay? But if you don't understand, like Josh, that's an accountability statement. The language there is super important. She can sense when you're not taking full ownership over it. The fact that you are saying that these words hurt you that I said, there is a displacement of ownership over it. Instead of saying, I hurt you when I said that to you, saying, I hurt you, not the words. Saying the words, it's taking it and putting it outside yourself. It's very subtle, but she picks up on this. You have to take full ownership that what you did hurt her and reflect that language by saying, I did this thing to hurt you. Because whether it was intended to or not, the fact of the matter remains in her reality and the way she currently views things is that what you said or what you did cause her to feel that way. And until you take full accountability for that in the correct language, she will never forgive and she will keep on bringing up the past. The third mistake that a lot of men will make that causes things to get worse is to change her perspective on it. All right, I'm gonna tell you a personal story of this that happened to me where, yes, even I make mistakes to this day, right? Where I chose to try to change her perceptions of things, my partner. We were having a great day. We went out, we went to the park, we got coffee, and it was just an amazing day, okay? And so I was taking a shower, and it was a great day, and then a couple things happened in the business that caused me to be stressed out, right? Some things I had to think about. And she turned off the lights, took my towel away as a joke, to tease, right? Normally, I would play along, it's funny, whatever, not a big deal. But in that moment, I was stressed out, and she heard in my tone, and I said, I just want a woman who's actually gonna give me my towel, not take it away. Now, when I said that, my intention was I want her to be that woman. But the way she interpreted that is I want a different woman. So she got upset. And in that moment, there's that part of me. There's that part of you. It's our ego. It is literally trying to keep you alive, because if you don't feel like you're right and your reality is literally not correct, it is almost equated to this feeling of like death. I maybe take it to an extreme, but I mean, I really believe that if your sense of this reality is wrong and the way you perceive things is not correct, it's like, what else can you trust? All right, this is why we latch on so hard to what we think is right. But I said, no, if she just knew that I meant her, no, like you shouldn't be hurt right now, right? Those aren't the words I used, but it's pretty much how I was dealing with it. I was trying to alter the way she felt, the way she perceived it, the way she heard things. But here's the fact. Those words that I said hurt her. Now, I have to honor that. I have to say the correct words to make her feel okay. I want you to imagine that when she is upset, when this pain is there, even if it comes out of nowhere, you've had an amazing day, and then all of a sudden she says something triggers her just to shut down, to get defensive, to push you away, to tell you that she still doesn't love you, or all those things. She is going through that emotional moment. There is a storm brewing. And in that storm, you're saying, hey, there's this button, this switch inside the storm. Look, if you see it, you turn that off, the storm will go away. She doesn't see the button. And even if she did, she doesn't give a damn, okay? You need to help her dissipate that storm, which I'll tell you in a second. But in that moment, what you are supposed to say, what I'm talking to you as much as I'm talking to myself, look at her in the eyes and say, I'm sorry that those words hurt you. And I'll tell you why this helps so much in a second. Now look, when she gets emotional, when she gets upset, when she's pushing you away, when she gets cold, all the same thing, what's happening here is that her protector is arisen. It's there, it's in front of her face. Now this protector, she had to develop it, this side of her, usually earlier on in her life as a child. A very common theme besides the stubbornness is a lot of past trauma or hard relationships growing up. So she had to develop this hyper independence, this defensive, cold, masculine side of her that's literally a different person to keep her alive. But when she is that way, you have to know that underneath all of that, whatever words she's saying to you, there is this scared, crying, hurt little girl that just wants to be loved. As much as inside of you, when you're being defensive and scared and intellectualizing, there's a scared, hurt little boy that just wants to be loved. That's all it is. And when you can see that when she is that way, that it's just her trying to protect herself, that her words are not meant to hurt you. They're just meant to keep her safe. That she's actually sorry for saying those things. That when those emotions have taken over, she has no control, okay? She is just sitting back behind this cage of protection, watching this protector just trying to push you away because you've become the villain to her, all right? And if you can be the better man, to be in your calm, non-protective state, where you stay vulnerable, you lean in instead of defend and push away yourself, you allow her protector to go away and her true authentic self that loves you to come forth. Now I've already alluded to this, but the best way to press that button in the storm is to look at her in the eyes and tell her you're sorry. You're sorry you hurt her. If you're thinking this is gonna autocorrect everything that's been done, it's not. But it is going to make it better. It may take a while. It may take a long time. It may take weeks of her doing this, bringing it up, but each time you are there for her, she is emotionally vomiting all this poison, okay? And when you try to defend, when you try to not take full responsibility. You're taking all that throw up and you're throwing it back on her. But by saying sorry, and I understand I did hurt you, and meaning it, because you cannot fake it, and she will know if you fake it. But if you truly mean that, over time, that poison dispels and that protector goes away. And what's revealed is the woman that you love. And if she's worth the time, the energy, all this stuff to get her back, prove it to her. Just prove it to her. Hope you enjoyed the video. There's another one right here on saving the marriage by yourself. You got it.